Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 8.7 Family Reunion. We are back.
Welcome. Last time on Aetheral Space, Dragon learned that he can, grow back his body parts, and he was like, whoop! And then Marie went down, and she found these creepy, fetus-type things in vats, giant fetus things, called Enfons, and then she found out that Hesaya is also a gene tyrant, and presumably one that's far older and more knowledgeable than her, based on what he's been working on. So this kind of confirms gene tyrants can't just change your genes at will like they do theirs. They have to do, science.
Yeah.
So very interested to see where this goes with. And Corgo, I want to shout out Corgo again. Love my life, Corgo. Did an incredible art of Marie for, the You're Not Alone. Oh, my God. That was so good. I was like, this is canon. This is what she looks like now. In my head. Okay. So, was that everything? Did I miss anything?
I would say so. That was it.
Okay. And this is... you already said the title. Okay. What makes a king a king? Invincibility. John Blair moved through the dark tunnels of Panacea, lit occasionally only by the glowing wings of a fluttering insect. He kept his helmet off as he walked, eyes flicking around to take in every detail of his surroundings. A few days ago, he'd have been loath to remove his protection on a dangerous planet like this, but since then he'd learnt he had nothing to fear. He'd learnt there was no such thing as fear. "Commander?" Peon's voice vibrated through his thoughts, like electricity shaped into words. "Are you nearly done? We need to prepare an ambush outside the Exocorp building. There are useful parts left from that ship I bombed. We can use them to form some kind of trap, I think." Peon, the technical specialist of their crew. Before this whole situation had developed, he'd been far more quiet, and John had preferred that, to be quite honest. Ever since his elevation, he'd become annoyingly confident. He'd never have dared to tell John Blair what to do. What makes a king a king? Having someone to rule over. So far, his kingdom was a kingdom of 5 people, but it would serve. He could see it now, in his mind's eye, like it already existed. The world that could be built here. A great and undying nation built from Panacea. John winced as it happened again. He felt hands on his dreams, wrenching them out of shape, like it was trying to force his ambitions onto a different track. John was stronger than that, however, and he banished the intruder with a burst of will, shattering those foreign fingers and sending them falling into the void. A king did not accept such impudence. Is this implying that the Panacea is trying to be a parasite of some sort?
Who knows?
A king did not accept such impudence. Even so, however, John found himself coming to a halt. No matter what he did, he couldn't find the effort to continue chasing this pest. Was that his own decision, or had those hands realigned more than he'd known? He found himself questioning that more and more since what had happened. But if a king questioned, he did not do so aloud. John turned and began coming back the way he came. "Very well," he sighed through the speech electric. "I am returning now. January wounded him anyway. He'll bleed out in time. Ian, you're still in place inside?" "I am, sir. Praise be. Is Ian not the same as Pian?"
No, different people.
Okay. And is it Ian or... Yeah, it's okay, it's Ian. John rolled his eyes at the religious awe. Not all of them had gotten through this unscathed, clearly. He idly rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the reassurance of the cuboid lump there. At the time, he'd gotten these implants for himself and his team for strategic purposes only. Exterior memory storage, recording their consciousnesses so they could operate efficiently, no matter what trauma they were, I assume, presented with.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't have imagined just how useful they'd end up being. Their brains had been infested by whatever this diseased Panacea was, but their sense of self was preserved by the implants, allowing them to operate independently to a degree. Oh my god, are we about to see some trippy-ass archivist shit? Tan, I need to see it. The trippy archivist.
What do you mean?
It was irritating. But, well, so, we know their minds are getting taken over, so if Dragon's doing the same thing and he doesn't have these implants, scenes where the archivist is all, fungi corrupted and is just let me take over, Dragon. I could run you better. It was irritating, but he still felt the draw to goals not his own, the directives of the Orange God pulling him along like strings. For the moment, resisting those objectives was beyond even him. But only for the moment. Isaya's head connected back to his neck with a pop as the tendril holding it retracted, but the look on his face didn't change. Tears continued to stream down his face as he looked Marie up and down, his hands planted on her shoulders. "Oh," he said again, but this time his mouth did not move, the words instead vibrating out of his very skin. "Look at you, so alive, such fire! If I had been one of them, I'd have been killed instantly. To think, of which generation are you? What lineage do you hold the body of?" Marie blinked, looking up at the other Gene Tyrant. His appearance was continuing to shift as she observed him, his hair retracting into his skull, leaving him bald, an extra pair of red eyes opening beneath his human ones. She was watching someone shed a disguise they'd worn for a long, long time. Wait, so just to remind myself, like, Gene Tyrants, they eventually decide to do, like, a weird suicide, but they birth, like, a new consciousness with an instruction manual, right? Themselves. But they, like, leave something behind, usually, like an instruction manual?
Usually, though, yeah.
Yeah, but not Marie for whatever reason. Okay, she never even imagined something like this could happen, and so the words were clumsy, halting as they came out of her mouth. "I don't know," she muttered. "I don't know what that means." He leaned in, neck stretching down unnaturally like the branch of a great tree. "Do you recall the time of the nobility?" he whispered, forked tongue flicking between sharpening fangs. His excitement was causing his body to warp and change into some sort of symbolism, iconography of a serpent. "The age of the last perfect nation. The rulership of Lord Director Eve." Oh my god, he's going all in on the symbolism. Marie shook her head slowly. No, I wasn't around for any of that." Is that Marie's voice?
Well, usually it's a bit smugger, but she's not really smug in this situation.
Okay, that's what it is. He nodded sagely, wiry hair flowing from his chin to form a beard that brushed against the floor. "As I expected," he grunted, taking his hands off her and trotting towards the enfant vat on hooves of teeth enamel. "Ew. If you had been of my generation, no doubt you would have already had your own plans in motion." He reached out with a spindly arm, each finger as thin as a spider's leg, and caressed the vat. Marie gulped, stepping forward to stand next to him. She looked up at the hulking figure of the sleeping creature, obscured by the red liquid that bubbled around it. "What are they for?" she asked, mind scrambling for answers. "The enfant, I mean." Hesiah sighed through gills that parted on his cheeks. "The gene nobility. We were infinitely close to perfection in my time. But infinitely close was not enough. Deficiencies existed, and the traitors made use of them to destroy us." Marie nodded. "1,000 revolutions," she murmured. A low growl poured out of Hesiah's throat. And as he pulled his hand away from the vat, I assume, Marie could see that it was now engorged and grotesque, its mottled surface covered in horns and claws, winding like spirals. Every time she looked at him, it was like he was in the process of becoming something else. "The great atrocity," he snarled. "Vermin, ungrateful for the existence they were blessed with, turning against their betters. Turning to unnatural power because their own abilities were, of course, insufficient." Is he talking about, like, the crown races and Aether?
He's talking about Aether there.
Or is he... Yeah, but is he talking about, like, other Gene Tyrants, or is he talking about, like, the crowned races?
The crowned races.
When he talks about... Okay. "Even now, if I split myself into comrades, how could I trust them not to reveal us? The merest indication of our presence here, and the jealous legions would glass this world. A greater class of being is necessary for continuance, for vengeance." He took a deep breath, and instantly calm returned to him. He clasped his hands, once again thin, and now coated in feathers, behind his back as he spoke almost serenely. "It bothered me," he said, "that such a thing was possible, that we were vulnerable to such cowardice. The enfant will not be." "Why not?" He laughed, the sound genuinely cheerful, a long prehensile tongue swinging from side to side out of his mouth like a pendulum. As Marie glanced at it, she saw a human eye was staring at her from its tip. "Just think about it," he chuckled. "They will be capable of our own of their own changing?"
No, that's right.
Of our own changing, the great flexibility of ourselves. They will be immortal, capable of infinite Panacean regeneration. Oh yeah, Marie needs like a certain amount of food or shit, right?
Yeah, she needs like biomass.
And, once they are complete, they will be capable of reproduction, replication of themselves, at such a rate that has never been seen before or will be seen again. Oh my god, he's gonna make gene tyrants that can fuck! A great red tide will spread over this galaxy. The tongue retreated into his mouth, and he smiled thinly with lips of carapace. And all will be as it once was again. Marie blinked, and the first time she moved her mouth, no sound came out. She'd been around, she'd seen a lot in her time, but this dumped on her all at once. This she had no response to. No, she couldn't lose track here. Her mind reached out for what was important right now. You told your guards to execute the people in the cells, she murmured, looking up at the spindly creature. Call it off. Hesaya raised an eyebrow, and as he did, his brain began to swell inside his head, his flexible skull stretching to accommodate it.
Big brain?
Call it off. Please? What else can... my IQ is 300. I was accepted into Mensa. What else could she do but ask? She was up against a version of herself with vastly more experience, in his own territory. Doubtless he'd set up countermeasures in case violence erupted here. It was what she would have done, after all. Another arm sprouted from Hesaya's shoulder blade, and it snapped its fingers. Oh, of course, he said, stepping away from the vat and lifting his script to a mouth that had parted open on his midsection. Forgive me, but the happy occasion caused me to lose track of the situation. You need me to call off the execution of your servant, then? That's no problem at all. I understand how much work it can be to cultivate good assets, especially under the current circumstances. The smart thing to do would be to allow those they'd pursued here to die, but Marie knew a toy would insist otherwise. He'd still want answers that he knew wouldn't satisfy him. To hell with it. The others, too, she insisted, stepping forward. Those that were caught fighting with us. I need them alive, too. Hesaya frowned, holding a script over his stomach mouth. Through the open jaws, Marie could see entrails swaying gently like the tendrils of a jellyfish. Are you certain? He asked. You understand the risk to us both increases, the more witnesses there are, don't you? They saw you cut to ribbons, as I recall. You don't think they'll have questions? I've understood that for 100 years, Marie nodded. I can keep them quiet. Don't worry. So long as you're certain. Hesaya turned away from her, his stomach mouth whispering orders into the script. Oh, I just realized this kind of is a unique situation, because if Dragon comes back before they see Marie, she can be like, oh, I got the Panacean in me too, boys. That's how I came back. And then she can get away with it. As he did so, another face sprouted onto the back of his head, features warped and stretched by the uneven surface his expanding brain had created. By the by, the new face gurgled, a sliver of drool running from its mouth. Why do you not unburden yourself, sister? Huh? Is that form not claustrophobic for you? So small and limited. The features faded away into the back of Hesaya's head, and when they reformed, their configuration was much more orderly. Forgive me, I did not consider your circumstances. If you came into existence after the Great Fall, then concealment is all you've ever known. For me, this disgrace is a temporary, if long, state of affairs. For you, it is the way of things. If he said so. Marie slowly nodded, mind still racing to catch up to everything that had happened. It was only when Hesaya laughed again that her thoughts were pulled forward to the present moment. To think we've spoken this much, and I still haven't asked the simplest question, he chortled, script returning to his pocket as he finished his conversation. What is your name, my dear? What are you called? Well, that was easy enough. Marie Hazard. Charmed, Hesaya smiled with all his mouths. I am called Ranavalona. We will do great work together. Ranavalona. I assume the reason he actually needed a fake name is because would he have been known as a gene tyrant? Was he famous enough?
Well, we actually were told by his Arc 4 that the over the last couple of years, the CEO of Exocorp has like a change in character. So what we can maybe deduce here.
Oh no! He took over! Yeah. He took the fucking imposter. Kids! Bum 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 bum. Alright, popcorn.
The twin was as he narrowed his eyes as the squad of guards came into the detainment room, rifles held in their hands. There was the gruff-looking leader of the security force, is the one who traditionally brought them here, and 2 others. With the one they'd left to guard them, that made 4. Ordinarily, 4 opponents of this caliber would be nothing, but without his Aether, and without Luminescence, it wasn't quite as easy. His hands were bound, but he was fairly confident that if one of the guards came too close, he would get his legs around their neck and choke them into unconsciousness. From there, it would be a matter of using that guard as a human shield to deflect enemy fire while he got the Neverwire off his wrists. He'd then grab Luminescence, dispatch the remaining 3, find Marie, and gone from this place as soon as possible. He could see now that Marie would be right all out of this. Coming here had been nothing but a huge error in judgment. Now that Dragon Hadrian was dead, he had no reason to linger. The undead sword had already fallen into the darkness. It was as he glanced at the other 2 in their cells, the man called Skipper and Jakob Del Ced. If it came down to it, there was a possibility they could cooperate to escape this prison, but he wasn't willing to bet on it. Their past conflicts had left far too much bitterness in the air. He turned back to the approaching guards, rising to his feet. In this situation, he would have to rely on himself. If nothing else, it would be a fight to remember. The lead guard stopped mid-step, putting a finger to the communicator on his ear, and his expression twisted in distaste. With a click of his tongue, he slung his rifle over his back once again. "Orders from the boss," he grunted, his disappointment evident. "You're all free to go." Oh, was as he thought. That was easier than he'd anticipated.
No!
Dragon panted, doing his best to wipe the copious sweat from his brow with a shaking, faltering hand. His new fingers felt foreign at the end of his hand, like cold ice that had been glued there. These fingers belonged to someone else. He was slumped over, back against the rocky wall of the cave, his ragged breathing echoing throughout the stone space. Obviously the guy called John wasn't still coming after him at this point. Locating him would have been perfectly easy now. What was happening to him? First, his fingers growing back and had this fever crawling over his skin like a swarm of hungry insects. He was like John, clearly, infected by whatever this tainted panacea was, but how? Why wasn't he running around snarling like one of the maniacs from White Village? "Dead boy's still thinking dead," murmured Anne sympathetically, kneeling by his side. "Got to be a thinking alive dead boy. Else brain goes fucky. Okay?" When had she gotten off his back? No matter how much Dragon rifled through his mind, he couldn't find the memory. Something wasn't right.
Oh, I just realized something. Oh, no. Tan, I've realized something. I'm sorry to interrupt. They never reacted to the girl that was with him, did they?
Oh, it didn't seem so.
I believe this gremlin is the manifestation of the panacea in his mind. I think I have figured it out.
Something wasn't right at all, but he couldn't think where it was. A heavy fog had descended upon his mind, making every effort sluggish and indistinct. It was like trying to swim in a dream and finding that the water around you had become as thick as tar. "Aye," he mumbled, not knowing what he was trying to say. "Aye?" Anne frowned, jagged bangs hanging over her eyes. "Dead boy's not dead," she said, more insistently. "Don't be thinking it, okay? Just don't be dead boy." Dragon opened his mouth again, and that's when he realised it. That's when he realised something that had been happening for quite a while now. That's when he realised someone was screaming right into his ear. The archivist had been made indistinct by exhaustion and confusion, his face a mosaic of eye and mouth. Even as Dragon looked up at him, eyes wide, he realised he had no idea how long the projection had been there, hunched over like some kind of animal, shouting at the top of his hypothetical lungs. "Non-existent," he roared, voice slicing through the current of Dragon's mind. His finger, sharp as a knife, was pointed right at Anne's curious face. "Non-existent." What?
Oh my god, dude, I double called it. I called Anne, I called the archivist going fuck
you. You called Anne as it was revealed, so...
Yeah, but still, I got to it before it was revealed, so...
"What's non-existent, dead boy?" Anne asked back. It was like a floodgate had opened. Thoughts that had been forbidden erupted all at once. Didn't weigh as much as she should. Didn't weigh anything at all. Moved when she shouldn't be able to. No way someone from White Village got this far underground. No way a kid escaped from some angry purpose. No way a kid isn't scared by all this. No way a kid. Replied to the archivist, inside his mind. No way a kid. Dragon went to get up, as if he was going to do something, but he had no idea what. Grab Anne? Attack her? She clearly wasn't real, some kind of hallucination, so what would doing that accomplish? At any rate, it didn't matter. Before he could get up on his feet, Dragon felt the tip of Anne's cold, non-existent finger press against his forehead, and he was swallowed by the past.
No, just simply befriend the fungus, forehead. No. You can become friends with the Panacea, come to an understanding. Maybe it has a tragic fungus backstory. Dead boy.
Dead boy.
Doing like a Ralph voice. That was good. Very good. Damn. Family reunion, huh?
Yeah.
What a chapter. What a chapter.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I feel like every chapter we do, I'm slowly losing the voices of all the characters.
Well,
like especially Ruth. I
You've
don't
been
even
saying
know what
this
her
since
voice
Arc
is supposed to be.
To be fair,
I know. It's like a slow descent.
it's
into
imposter syndrome.
madness. Maybe, I don't know. All right. Well, thank you. Oh, what? No! We're not ending the episode yet.
Okay.
I wrote a list of questions I've been wanting to ask you all week, but I couldn't get a hold of you all freaking week.
Okay.
Let me find them. I saved a notepad. Aether questions. Okay. First thing. This was just an observation I wanted to make. It's kind of fucked up that it's called Gemini Shotgun, because Skipper, when he shoots out his heartbeat, it's a shotgun because it hits out like a spray, like a sound wave.
Yeah.
But Dragon only shoots one object out. And at first I was like, oh, it'll make more sense when he gets stronger and can shoot multiple objects out. But no, even when he stores multiple, it's like an explicit limit. He can only... Yeah, he can only shoot one at a time. So it's not really a shotgun. It's more like a pistol or a sniper. Okay.
Yeah,
Two, how come Bruno and Serena don't have Aether technique names? Every other character in the main cast and that we've met has technique names, but not Bruno and Serena. They just use their Aether.
Yeah, they just don't.
Why?
Personal decision.
But I thought the whole thing was like you had to say
Well,
it,
you don't
and that's why
necessarily
everyone
have
did it.
It's
So
a
why
very
does
helpful
everyone say their
technique for,
attack names?
Getting the mindset down, but they have like special training.
Okay. Okay, and 3, this one was more like something you can't really answer but would have to draw for us. Because, like, obviously, all of Skipper's attacks are sound, so they're invisible, but, like, what do they look like visualized? Like, for example, if we could see it, what's the difference between a heartbeat shotgun, a bayonet, and a landmine?
So,
you know what I mean?
Shotgun
like, what
would be like a blast in front of him. A landmine is a blast all around him, it's omnidirectional. And the bayonet is a sharp, like, invisible knife that slices through the air.
So I can see the difference between like bayonet and the others, but why not always use landmine instead of shotgun? Because landmine just sounds like a better shotgun.
Hit the guy like standing right behind him who's his friend.
Oh, I see. Very interesting. Thank you. Okay, those are my Aether questions. One of them was just me complaining about Dragon's name. Okay, thank you. Bye!
Bye!